You are officially in the incinerator. Welcome to another episode of Midday Mania, the live streams that we do from time to time here on the Alert Zone TV. Shout out to everybody because this is a worldwide movement. I would love for you guys and you girls to become active citizens. Y'all already know how to do that. We'll hit the subscribe button, hit the bell with all so you can be notified when we drop fruitful and nutritious content. Make sure you give the video a like, share, all that other good stuff. All right, we got Dr. T in the building. Shout out to everybody. Hope everybody is doing well. I've seen some of the aftermath of the bad weather that's gripping the country. For those of you who's never been through this, I've spent the last 16 years in this kind of nasty weather, and I'm going to tell you, if you had snow, if you had ice, and now you got sub-zero temperatures coming, it's going to be even worse than when the snow was falling. So if you don't have to be out there on the roads, stay home. I've seen in Mississippi trees snapped, power lines snapped. It's bad. The rest of this week is going to be very cold across the country. To all my truckers, if you do not have to be on the road, get off of it. It's not worth it. For what they pay now for a lot of these loads, it's not worth getting out there and risking your life. So here in the Midwest, we are expecting tonight another minus with the wind chill, maybe minus 30-degree night again. Got about minus 30 last night. It's supposed to warm up a little bit the rest of this week. It's supposed to finally get above zero for the first time in about a week or two. So definitely make sure you guys and girls are protecting yourselves out here. If you ain't got to go out in this freezing cold weather, don't go out there, man. Also, if you got generators and stuff like that, make sure they're a safe distance from your home. If you don't have a generator, so the carbon monoxide don't get up in there and take y'all off the planet. So give everybody a couple minutes to get up in here. We'll do like always. We'll start at the 5-minute mark, the meat and potatoes of today's program. Yeah, so hope everybody's doing well. Like I said, it's going down, man. It's getting serious out here, people. It's really getting serious. Also, as I always like to start my program and say, shout out to all of the gun tubers. You guys and girls help keep the message going. Shout out to people that participate in GunTube. When I say GunTube, I don't just mean the content creators. I also mean the people that take in what we say, the people that view the material, that comment, that share the material. Without you guys and girls, we'd be portrayed in the mainstream media as just a bunch of angry, screaming people. They would definitely split us up and racialize it. For white folks, it'll be the crazy white guy, and for black folk, it'll be the angry black folk talking about guns. You know, that's what it was before, and that's what we have been fighting to get rid of that stereotype from the mainstream media. So definitely, you know, shout out to everybody. Like I said, last night, hopefully I get the SHOT Show this time next year. We got 4 wonderful people I'm seeing. Make sure you hit the likes button as you come in. Help us with the algorithm. We have also started getting more views on the channel. I think my shadow ban has been lifted. Or my videos and what we discuss here is being recommended. And there's a lot of people that's getting onto the channel that's never seen it before. So shout out to y'all. We got over 1,000 wonderful, nutritious pieces of work. Some of it is we shooting firearms, some of it is discussion, and then some of it is just shorts, you know, showing different firearms or different scenarios or mag dumps or what have you. So you guys and girls are welcome to put this in your rotation, this channel. All right, let's go ahead on and get into this. Before I start with the commentary, I want to say this. Whether you're catching me live or on the replay, if you're a very sensitive person, I don't think this is going to be the live stream for you. I know I used some profanity last night. It kind of angered me what Cash Patel was doing. But we need to have a discussion about something. As Cash Patel said what he said, I started checking sources. And there are a lot of pro Second Amendment people that are out on Twitter. I don't have Twitter, but I have sources. And other different platforms calling him out about that little statement he made about the FBI and showing up to protest armed. It's come to my attention that the state of New York and other states are stepping up to say they don't want armed people at protests. Let me explain something to you. I want everybody to listen to what I'm going to say really, really, really well. Because this is part of what I was trying to drive home last night. You don't always have to agree with somebody. But you should agree that we all, as Americans, have the right to our opinion as long as we're following the law, and we have the right to disagree. But we should never support somebody else's rights being trampled because we don't believe what they believe. For those of you who don't know, the conversation last night was about Rittenhouse and Preddy and the Second Amendment hypocrisy. Well, now it's starting to come to a head now. Now we're starting to have different states. The conversation is starting to come up about banning guns at protests. Now understand something. They're saying all protests. So if you live in Virginia, if you live in any other state where you guys and girls usually have march about the Second Amendment being tampered with, this is a dangerous precedent that's being set. Because what it's saying is, you're going to have a Second Amendment march, but you can't have firearms. But that's a violation of your Second Amendment rights, number one, to bear arms. It's also a violation of your First Amendment rights to legally assemble. Because you bring your ARs, your AKs, your shotguns, your staccatos, your PPQs and all that to Second Amendment protests, we have a right to do that. That's being trampled on. Hate, unfortunately, has been at the center of the beginning of this country. And hate has been so soaked into the fabric of this country that most people that perpetrate hate feels like it's never going to come back to them. Now, because of hate, we run the possibility of everybody having to suffer. Let me tell you what I mean. We always hear a lot about the left and the Second Amendment and the left. Well, in modern times, it wasn't the left that started gun control. It's Ronald Reagan in California. Ronald Reagan was a Republican. He got the Mulford Act passed with the help of the NRA. There wasn't enough outrage about that because people felt like, well, it's a bunch of black folks showing up with guns, so yeah, we don't need to have them N-words out there in public with firearms. That's not a good look. Now, when the Klan was doing it, when other groups of people was doing it, it wasn't a problem. It wasn't until we showed up practicing our Second Amendment rights publicly that it became an issue. Now, a lot of people thought, well, good, we disarmed them, good, we got the law passed to stop them. Well, you fast forward from the 60s till now. Now you got a guy in California that's fighting against trying to get all these gun laws repealed now that got put in place in the 60s because it was to target black people. Let me tell you something. Unfortunately, we don't live in a colorblind society. And I know a lot of y'all don't want to hear it, but I'm just telling it how it is. We don't. We don't live in a colorblind society. I want the Second Amendment to be colorblind. Here's the problem. A lot of the people who say they believe in the Second Amendment don't want it to be colorblind. They love this asterisk. When Philando Castile was walked into his death, every gun-loving American should have been outraged. And yet that wasn't the response. The response from other communities was silence. All of us that love the Second Amendment should have had something to say about that. Because it's not illegal to have a gun. He alerted the officers that he had his firearm and everything he needed to go with it. And he was still walked into his death. All these gun clubs, all these people who run around talking about how they love the Second Amendment was silent. And it was silent because they didn't agree with him. And now look at what's going on. In Virginia, let me tell you something about hate. And this is important. People who want control, they sit back and they watch. Here on GunTube, before GunTube, you know, the mainstream media had all to say about firearms. But lawmakers sit back, Republican, Democrat, and Independent, and they look at what divides the country. What issues can we get to constantly talk about that divides the country so that we can take turns taking office? Abortion divides the country and guns. But because this is the Second Amendment community, what's the divide in the Second Amendment community? It's color, whether you like it or not. And that has been the driving force behind all this damn gun control. All the people in Illinois who were screaming about Chicago, when they was banning certain things in Chicago before it went statewide, y'all didn't say anything. Because it was the whole, well, yeah, this is banned. You can't have an AR in Chicago. You can't have a laser on your gun in Cook County. It was okay because they started there. And then it spread to the rest of the state. And then the next thing you know, y'all started screaming and hollering about, oh, this is an infringement on our rights. But you didn't say nothing when it got started because you agree with those people having an infringement on their rights. Let's get something straight. These criminals, since y'all love bringing up Chicago so much, those guys and girls are not legally armed that's out there causing all that chaos that they keep running on the news. Those people that are actually committing the crimes, they doing it with illegal firearms that's supplied to them. Because you don't like what's going on up there, don't mean you should infringe on people's rights because your assumption is, well, there's people buying legal firearms and they running around carjacking and all this other nonsense. And look at what happened to the state of Illinois as a result. It spread. These people sit here and they watch what everybody say because we all under surveillance. They watch what everybody say. When you down there in the comment sections typing, they're watching, they're reading all this. And they're going to govern accordingly. Okay, the state of Illinois was able to get a quote-unquote assault weapons ban passed. How did they get it passed? They brought Chicago. People who live in the Pacific Northwest, when something happens in the Pacific Northwest, the first thing they bring up is Chicago. You don't even live in Illinois. You're never going to even go to Illinois. But you'll bring up Chicago. Well, now, that same dog that you sent out to bite, it's got rabid and it's turning around biting you now. You see, look, America is a red country with blue pockets. But because you're a red dog owner, you want to send that red dog to bite the blue one. And then when the red dog comes back to you, it's supposed to be a pet and sit on your side. But it don't happen like that. And strictly sticking to the Second Amendment, look at how they've been able to get these damn gun laws passed. They picked the one thing they know this country has been and will be divided on, and that's color. That's how Ronald Reagan was able to get the Black Panthers when they showed up at the State House, at the state capitol, armed legally in public. That's how he was able to get the Mulford Act and ban open carry and all that. Because he used a group of people that the state as a group has decided was the enemy. That's how Illinois got their assault weapon ban. Maryland, they used Baltimore to get theirs through. For those of you who don't know, because I've been, like I said, to 46 out of 48 continental American states. I was having this discussion on the live the other night. Baltimore is the eastern shore, and I don't know the side with I-95. I don't know if they call it the western shore or the mainland or whatever. As an outsider, Jessup, Baltimore is on 95. Annapolis and all the rest of that stuff on the eastern shore is once you cross the Bay Bridge. It's another part. It's like being in two different states. But to get the quote-unquote assault weapons ban passed in Maryland, they used Baltimore. And everybody was okay with that. Because when it was just piling up on Baltimore, see all these 13%, all these usual suspect comments, all that nonsense that y'all type in, all that foolishness, this was 13% avoidable and all that. These guys and girls sitting here watching this shit. And they're saying, bingo. We know what they're divided on. Let's use that. And we'll keep flashing it over the fucking news. We'll just keep flashing it over the news. Over and over and over and over and over. And then we'll keep repeating it and keep repeating it. And people will be like, yeah, we got to do something about Baltimore. But they didn't bring an ordinance to go after Baltimore. They brought law to go after the whole state. And then other people started saying, hey, wait a minute, that ain't us. Why you gonna punish us? Then all of a sudden it became all of us getting punished for a handful of criminals. And that's how they've been able to get these bans through. The very same people. Oh, we got Chicago in here. See what I'm talking about? So he knows why I'm telling the truth. I've been all over the state of Illinois. You go to downstate Illinois, Interstate 74, it's pro-Second Amendment. But those people was quiet when the news kept talking about Chicago, 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 Chicago. A lot of those people downstate was okay with getting laws pushed against Chicago because they didn't figure it was going to turn around on them. See, these guys and girls, these politicians, they didn't master the art of watching what everybody talk about. They didn't master this. I'm telling you, there's people, their whole job is to monitor social media. That's all they get paid to do. Sit back behind the desk. All right, we got Rock Island in here at the state line. Yep. Their whole thing has been monitor the internet, monitor the content creators, but monitor the comments, because the comments always come from people on the ground. When I talk about certain things, it's because I go in the comment sections. And you get more of the people that's actually there on the ground, and I watch that. Especially when I got back on the road after living here in Iowa, and I was going down Interstate 74, man, heading to Indianapolis, and I kept seeing all these signs about pro-gun, and I was like, but they tell you Illinois is such against firearms, but and central Illinois is just pro-2A. Then I thought about it, the euphemism, Chicago. You got people, like I said, that live on the other side of the country that's never going to go there. And all they know in the comment section is, what about Chicago? What about Chicago? Let's just have an honest discussion here, because this is important. Anytime there's a school shooting and somebody makes a comment, the very next comment is, well, what about Chicago? Well, this just is a one-time thing. It happens in Chicago all the time. It's always, what about Chicago? And you know what? For those of you who believe in the Second Amendment, the inner city, yeah. For those of you who push constantly, what about Chicago? What about Chicago? nationwide. They've used that "what about Chicago" to get these laws passed in other states now. And people feeling it, and they don't like it. Now they telling us we can't come to protest armed. Well, guess what? You don't have to agree with my politics to agree that as long as the gun I'm carrying is legal and I'm able to be legally armed, I should practice my Second Amendment rights at a protest. Now, if I point a firearm at somebody, if I get aggressive in a threatening manner and I get put down, that's my business because I'm acting out of order. But to say, well, it's okay for Kyle Rittenhouse to go to a protest with a firearm, but not this guy Preddy to go to a protest with a firearm, that's hypocrisy. That's hypocrisy. You know what else that's telling people? Yeah, Kyle Rittenhouse, let me say what I didn't say last night, because it wasn't about whether I thought he was right or not. Kyle Rittenhouse went there to shoot black folk. For those of you who don't know, there's a video of a couple black dudes telling him, hey man, don't ask us if we need your help. You was up the street pointing that gun at us. That's what he went out there for. He's on video saying that. He's on video saying he wish he had his gun so he can teach these people a lesson. Kyle Rittenhouse went there to shoot black people. It's just black people were smart enough not to approach him with that firearm in his hand. But that's what he went out there for. That's just a fact, whether you like it or not. And the whole country, well, more than half the country, was in support of the fact he was practicing his Second Amendment right to go out there legally armed. Okay, fine, it set a precedent. Whether you believe in these ICE protests or not, if Kyle Rittenhouse gets to go to a protest with a gun, well, so should the rest of us as long as we got it legally. We should be allowed to do that. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So I just thought that I wanted to bring this to people's attention. When it comes to the Second Amendment, I know I've said this publicly. Yeah, play stupid game, win stupid prizes. Period, point blank. I've said this publicly. All these guys that hang out on 4chan and Stormfront and all these other sewages, the Patriot Front and all that, I don't care nothing about them having a gun. If they're able to legally be armed, that's fine. The way I stop them from running up on me is to have my shit. I don't want you to disarm them because then you're going to turn around and want to do it to me. No, that's how you stop that. You don't have to agree with why somebody's protesting. Like the McCloskeys. They didn't agree on what was being protested. My understanding, the gate to the gated community got broke down and they came out with their guns and felt like they had a reason to be out there. They was legally armed and that was that. Whether you like it or not. Well, that's how I feel. These guys want to walk around and scream hate. I don't like it, but that's fine. Let them carry their guns. Don't tell them they can't have a gun. Because when they run up to me screaming this and that, they can call me whatever they want. If they reach, they're going to get one put in them. And if they keep moving, I'm going to keep on pulling the trigger until they stop moving like the police. That's how you do that. I want the Second Amendment to be a template for how this country is supposed to be. But it can't be a template for how this country is supposed to be if we don't talk about what the problem is. The problem is the mainstream media has done so much damage to the Second Amendment. It's done so much damage that it's going to take us a lifetime to get the image of being legally armed turned around. Now that you got quote-unquote liberal and you got conservative, people running around here talking about we don't want people showing up to protest armed, but that's our right. But I'm telling you how we got here. We got here because we have decided as a country that, well, people that we approved of to be legally armed can be armed and we okay with it. You can show up armed to a protest if you protesting what we in favor of. if you're protesting what we're not in favor of, well, you shouldn't have a firearm. Nah, we can't do that. We can't do that. It's got to be just down the middle. Yeah, they're already talking about trying to get laws back. And now, to all my Virginia people, I'm watching that Spanberger that y'all just voted in. She's sitting back and watching all this. And believe me, like the last comment said, they're already looking for ways to go after that. So just understand something. As this becomes law, that we can't go to protest armed, then that means when you go to protest the Second Amendment, you can't take a firearm with you, which defeats the point. You're going to have a Second Amendment rally and nobody's out there going to be armed. It's like January 6th. A lot of them people was armed out there. All of them might have not went inside that building, but a lot of them was armed with firearms. And I know this because they was bragging about they had their piece on them when they went up there. A lot of them people was armed. So I just thought that, shout out to Dr. T for even bringing this to my attention. I know I had got a whiff of this. You guys and girls know I took Cash Patel to task last night for his little comment. And some of these pro-Second Amendment groups that may not politically or racially agree with me have started getting on his bumper because now they understand where this is going. Now they understand. As I say, when a rabid dog, when a rabid dog is out biting innocent people, when a rabid dog bites your neighbor, you don't have to like your neighbor. Oh, okay. Yeah, I hear you. When a rabid dog bites your neighbor, you don't have to like your neighbor. But that don't mean you celebrate them being bit, especially if they haven't done anything. They haven't done anything to you. They haven't done anything to deserve to be bit. You don't celebrate that. Because that dog one day can catch you and bite you, and it's not going to be so funny. For so long, we've allowed the Second Amendment to have an asterisk next to it. And as a community, we've been divided. People in politics, people in law, people in all kinds of walks of life have noticed that. And they've used that divide to go after the Second Amendment. And they've figured out a long time how to make it palatable. If we can get you to accept that a black person and the gun does not belong together under any circumstances, and you'll celebrate us putting an asterisk next to their firearm rights, it's only a matter of time before we turn around and we come to you. It's like I always say, when Pookie and Ray Ray shoot and everybody decide they're going to believe in stop snitching and they ain't going to say nothing. Well, then don't get angry when Pookie and Ray Ray shows up and shoot your mom or your dad or your son or your brother or whoever. Now you can't say, well, we got to change the rules. Now somebody need to talk. Nah, you know Pookie and Ray Ray was out there targeting innocent people and you kept your mouth shut. So now when they come back and they bite you, you got to take it like everybody else. Well, the same thing with the Second Amendment. People who claim to love the Second Amendment for so long have kept quiet. They've tiptoed around it. They've even cheered for us having an asterisk next to our Second Amendment. Now it's turning around and it's starting to bite them, and it don't feel so good now. Virginia is up in arms right now. Virginia right now is like ground zero. I'm hearing they talking anywhere from 15 to 20 bills in the state of Virginia specifically for the Second Amendment. So as I'm talking, they sitting here listening. Somebody might get a whiff of this, and they're figuring out how to word this, how to write this, how to make it palatable. For a long time, the mainstream media has made it palatable to do this. Now, the lawmakers have been going to work, just writing it out now. It's hard to get it in certain states, like Iowa, Nebraska, Wyoming, Colorado. The Midwest is a little bit harder, although there are some restrictions over here. It's a little bit harder because all the major black cities in the Midwest are not, all the major cities in the Midwest are not predominantly black. With the exception of Chicago and maybe Chicago, St. Louis, maybe Indianapolis, I'm not sure. The majority of the big cities in the Midwest are not predominantly black. So it's very hard to sell gun control because you don't have a group of people to constantly flash on the news as the troubled group. Now, I'll tell you what I mean by that. I live in Iowa. I live in Marshalltown. Des Moines is the closest big city to me. So the news that I watch is usually about Des Moines and sometime about here if something makes the news. But the majority of the state of Iowa, the news from Des Moines don't cover them unless it's something really, really, really strenuous, but Des Moines is the capital. When I lived in New Orleans, basically everything was about the New Orleans metro area. We didn't hear about Shreveport and Lafayette. We know all them places. We hardly didn't even hear about Baton Rouge. Unless it was some kind of state law that was just really, other than that, we didn't hear about the rest of the state. Well, people in Illinois that live in Champaign-Urbana, that live down on the southernmost tip of Illinois, they local news is always talking about Chicago. But they 200-300 miles away. But it's all their news is about Chicago. That's to make certain things palatable. We're going to go after the Second Amendment, but we're going to use this group of people since y'all are in agreements that they're the problem. Here's the problem. They're going to start with them, but they're not going to stop there. It's like a bully. When he beats up everybody in the neighborhood, he still got to have somebody to pound on. He'll turn around and start trying to beat up on people that he never went after before because he got to constantly have somebody to beat on. Well, you start going after your major cities in the country, but it don't stop there. It starts there, but it does not stop there. Like I told you guys and girls, America has a majority conservative Supreme Court, 6-3. And yet you still got states like California that's allowed to have all these kinds of restrictions going on. Illinois, Virginia, the fact that Virginia is getting ready to have all these gun restrictions with the Supreme Court sitting right there, conservative Supreme Court backs up everything that I'm telling you. I told you the Second Amendment, it's not about liberal and conservative. People who think with this, people who think with this and not this or believe that garbage. It's not about liberal and conservative. It's a football issue. It's like a kickball or soccer game that you just kick back and forth. Told you the major two issues, abortion and the Second Amendment. And they loosely make laws so that they can take turns getting into power. It's just that simple. If Republicans love the Second Amendment the way they claim they do, you would have Republican governors all over the country up in arms about these firearm restrictions that's going on. But you don't. You don't. And you don't for a reason because they understand Trump can't run in 2028. Oh yeah, he can be the vice president. I'm going to keep my comment about J.D. Vance to myself. I'm going to just leave that at that. What's going on? Appreciate you for tuning in. But yeah, everybody, it has begun. The whispering and the clamoring is going on about making being legally armed at a protest illegal. And where this comes in at is if you're going to protest the Second Amendment, if you're going to have a 2A rally anything like that, it's going to make that illegal. And as somebody said, they're writing this and they're going to write in the details. They're going to be like Oklahoma did with the stand your ground law. Oklahoma and Castle Doctrine. They were very, very direct about that. Now, personally, I like the fact that they were direct. You're right about that. Every 4 years, we get the crap into the stick. Like I said, statewide, we can start with getting the Second Amendment into everybody's state constitution like we did here in Iowa. The Republicans thought about if they ever get voted out and don't become the majority, the Second Amendment was one of the first things they was going to go after here. So we got it voted in by the voters into the state constitution and got it ratified and everything, that cannot be messed with. That you cannot mess with the Iowa state constitution on the Second Amendment. So I think we got to start statewide, but like I told you guys and girls, I'm working on putting in correspondence together with my local, state, and federal representatives, and also reaching out to the White House and writing them a letter. I'll go sit in before Congress and argue our Second Amendment rights. I don't have an issue with going out there. And it's not because I got an ego to stroke. I understand where this is going. At the end of the day, people don't understand something about the Second Amendment. It has more to do with just worrying about a tyrannical government. The Second Amendment has become the number one reason other countries refuse to invade America. Because they always talk about America has a standing army with the civilians. We do not just have to worry about, we do not have to just worry about the military. The civilians armed to the teeth. Like they said, there's an AK-47 or an AR-15 behind every door. You right about that. Yeah. How I'm supposed to burn? Hey, you know what? Before I bought incense burners, this was a gift from Eyes and Ears Tactical, by the way. Shout out to him. Before I bought these, I've always had incense burners. When I was younger, I just would let it find a little piece of hole in the drywall and stick an incense there or in the door jamb. And after it burned out, I would just take a broom and sweep it up. And then I started getting incense burners. Hold on, I'll show you one. Sorry about that, everybody. Yeah, I started getting incense burners, stuff like this. That's a incense burner. You know how good you can see that. Started getting incense burners and stuff like that. And it just made it more manageable. That if you just burn it inside something, it's less mess for you to have to clean up. But yeah, Eyes and Ears gave me this one because when I first started doing these live streams, I called it Incense and Common Sense. Because I've always loved to burn incense. I'm from old school New Orleans, and that was one of the things that you clean the house, sweep, mop, then you light your incense so the house can smell good, because incense hold a good smell longer than air fresheners do. Because like your curtains and stuff, it gets into the fabric, so even days later it still has a good smell. Yeah, like I said, Eyes and Ears give me this one. In these types, you just have to make sure when you stick the incense in there, that is not laying low, that is flat. And usually, because I got some other ones, I had a couple of them. I had one that was it was stand up. It was a Grim Reaper. I got that out of Venice Beach in California. It was a Grim Reaper holding the staff, but it was no face. That's where the smoke came out. Then I had a couple dragons, but they got destroyed. But yeah, man. So I used to just kind of hold them like a cigarette, and I'd be talking and what have you. And I've been on other people's program, and they was asking me, "What you smoking?" And I was like, "I'm smoking shit but the incense," you know. So I started using one of my incense burners, and I would light it and put in the incense burner. And then Eyes and Ears gifted me with this, and it's been the incinerator ever since, you know. So okay, yeah, yeah. I like Venice Beach. Since we having a conversation, okay, yeah, I got it from Venice Beach, man. Back in that Grim Reaper I'm telling you about. I got that back in '08, '09. You right about that. The gas prices, but uh yeah, I like it out there. California's Southern California is good to visit. I don't know if I could live there because of the prices. Uh, I see all these emojis getting put up there. I'm trying to figure out what they mean. Oh, okay. You grew up in California. Okay, where you grew up at? Since we having a discussion, we keep going. Yeah, everything is good. Everything is good. Just having a discussion about how the divide in the two areas uh is backfiring. Yeah, you're right about California prices, man. Hollywood, LA, city, downtown. Okay. Um, I got a chance to go down Hollywood Road to, was it Melba's? Mel's Diner. Uh, yeah, I got a chance to go through California. You know, LA, Torrance, Watts, Compton, all that. Yeah, I've been to Hollywood a couple times myself. I got a chance to somewhat see a piece of Beverly Hills and Brentwood. Um, yeah, usually when I visit California, because that's where my wife from. When I visit California, usually I'm sitting in the back seat or whatever and just taking in the sights. Hell, really don't know my way around that good. I'm usually taking in the sights, you know. Cudahy, Culver City. I've been to by the jungles, what they call it, the jungles where they did Training Day at. Crenshaw. Okay, okay. Yeah, like I said, California is good to visit. Living, my goodness, the money they charge you, man. You live in Orlando? Okay, I've been to Orlando. I used to come down the Beeline, and the Beeline toll road brings you into right there around Disney World. I used to take that Beeline through there. And yeah, I've been around Orlando, through Orlando a couple times and stuff like that. Yeah, California, man. I'm just sorry. It's just too expensive to stay there. Just too much, man. It's yeah, it's just too expensive to stay there. But yeah, I've been through Orlando, Miami, Fort Myers, Fort Lauderdale, Pompano Beach, Daytona Beach, uh, St. Pete, Tampa, Panama City Beach. As a matter of fact, 2009, I spent New Year's of 2009. I was in Panama City Beach. I had delivered a load. I used to haul chemical there, and I delivered a load, and I stayed and went out and what have you. Inglewood, never been to Long Beach. I didn't know Long Beach uh, was that close to LA. So I've never been to Long Beach, but I've been to Inglewood. As a matter of fact, there's a picture of me I posted in the community tab at Roscoe's in Inglewood. Yeah, Roscoe's in Inglewood. Yeah, St. Louis. I know a little bit about St. Louis. The Anheuser-Busch plant. Um, the Anheuser-Busch plant right there off of 55. St. Louis is a very interesting city. The stadium, the big Ferris wheel, the Cardinal Stadium, the big Ferris wheel and stuff like that. St. Louis is a very interesting place. Uh, East St. Louis, across the bridge, across the Mississippi there. Yeah, I've been St. Louis. I've been through there more than I've actually been to there. But I used to go quite a bit when I first started trucking in '03 to the Anheuser-Busch plant over there, right there off of 55 there, south end of town. And yeah, like I said, I've experienced some of these places. Some of them I've gotten out. Uh, Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles. What the hell did I have at Roscoe's? Shit, I forgot. It was an experience though. Yeah, it was an experience at Roscoe's. I had a good time there, you know. Um, I tell you, uh, one place that's is a line before they open is Tito's Tacos over there. And I don't know if it's technically LA or Inglewood or whatever. Like I said, when I be out there, I just be riding. I be in the back. But Tito's Tacos, man, you get there right before they open, and it's already a damn line out there. Tito's be crowded all day long. There's always a line at Tito's. Um, Now, I will say this. This is my personal opinion. To me, LA has the best street Mexican food in the country. You go to the LA area, tacos, whatever. Yeah, out of all the places I've been, to me, and I live in a town basically, there is Mexican restaurants all over this town I live in. To me, I can say LA, the LA area got the best Mexican food in America. You go to LA, whether it be the restaurants, or the food trucks, or the guys and girls that walk around with their little food carts, or if you catch them at the gas station selling food, they got the best street food in America. Hands down. I don't care what nobody say. And that's for somebody from New Orleans. Yeah, that's for somebody from New Orleans. I can tell you straight up. All the places I've been, I've never had Mexican street food better than in LA. Never. Never. New York, Texas, Tex-Mex, Arizona, nowhere. Yeah. Pulling up at them on the gas and oh, okay. Well, I've been lucky. I've never been poisoned. Um, and I'll tell you something else about LA. I think LA got the best pupusas. Now, I understand that's a Salvadorian food. The best pupusas come from LA. Although there is one Salvadorian woman in this town I live in, my goodness. That woman only works on Sundays. Yeah, hell yeah, that should be good. That woman only works on Sundays. She get up Sunday morning and she got her griller, and that woman be busy all day. I remember when we first moved in town, her other house, she would like turn it into a restaurant kind of. People would buy pupusas from her and sit there and eat. And man, let me tell you something. I didn't even know what a pupusa was till I moved here, because I grew up around nothing but blacks. Straight up black Americans. That's all I've ever grew up around. And and man, I'm telling you, we used to work at JBS together. And once she got up in age, man, she was like, I make so much money on Sundays, there ain't no need for me to be working no job no more. She get up on Sundays, she make her pupusas. For those of you who've never had handmade stuff where you watch them mix the masa and all that stuff, man, she get up there and them little hands be the tomato sauce, the hot sauce, the cabbage, it's just be almost like being in a Japanese restaurant, man. But yeah, man, like I said, I appreciate everybody for tuning in. You know, I just wanted to get it out there to everybody that when it comes to Second Amendment, we got to put whatever political and racial differences aside because they've started eroding and everybody's feeling the pressure of it. You know, like I said, the march that they had the other day in Virginia about the Second Amendment. A lot of people never thought that they would be having this march. I'm telling you why this march came about and how these laws are coming about. Whatever your differences is, political, racial, sexual, it don't matter. When it comes to the Second Amendment, it's got to be blind. Yeah, yeah, man. We can't. We have the right. But not only do we have the right, I think personally, it's very helpful for us to have sensible discussions about things we may not agree on. So at least we know why other people don't agree. So at least we can put whatever differences we have aside for the Second Amendment, man, because they've used what divide was there and it didn't grow, man. And I'm going to tell you, that snowball is going downhill. And it has been going downhill for a while. California used race and they kept going. I talk too much. Okay, go ahead and ask me a question then. Go ahead. Go ahead, since you said I talk too much. Ask me a question. Just something sensible. Tea. What about tea? Do I drink tea? Anyhow, yeah, like I said, you know, whatever issue that we have, man, it already started. And I feel that it's necessary to... You asked it. What? What did you ask? Because I didn't see your question. Ask it again so I can... I answered it? Oh, okay. Anyhow, they used racial differences to get the ball going. And it didn't start rolling. It started in California, but it's not going to stop there. So you guys and girls, whatever issues we have, we got to put that aside because, yeah, Virginia, I'm going to keep my eye on Virginia. I know a couple people that live there, and I've been talking to them. I'm going to keep my eye on Virginia because the rest of the country is. And they're trying to see what Virginia can get past. A lot of you guys and girls might say, well, this, liberal that. I'm telling you, it's not just the liberal thing because the conservatives helped them start it. The conservatives used what they knew the majority of the state of California was going to be okay with. Presenting these black folks as being angry black people with guns that's going to want to run around and shoot up a whole bunch of white people. That's the narrative that they put out there. And the majority of Californians and the NRA at the time was in agreements with it. And they was able to get these laws passed that they see now down the line is coming back to bite them. And they've done this systematically across the country. And now people are suffering and starting to say, hey, wait a minute. You intruding on my rights. And what they telling you is because you didn't say nothing when we was doing it to the people you have a disagreements with. You didn't have an issue then. Yeah, you know what I mean? And look, I have a lot of conservative views. I can't be aligned with foolishness. I have a lot of conservative views. I have things I agree and I don't agree with. But when it comes to the Second Amendment, I agree with one thing and one thing only. If you are able to be legally armed, you should be able to be legally armed without it being infringed on. Even if I don't agree with you on everything, I believe in that. Do not disarm somebody because they say they don't like a particular group of people. They have their right to feel like that. We may not even know why they feel like that. They have their right. But the way to stop them from running up on me and shooting them is if they gonna come and get me, it's like the elderly woman. I heard a story about in Houston. A couple mass intruders broke in her house. They killed her, but she wound up shooting both of them. It was a gunfight. She went down swinging. And rest her soul, but she gave a valiant effort. I know they said at the news that one of the intruders is in critical condition, but that she shot both of them. It was a gunfight, and I'm with that. Yeah, common sense is not lacking. I say this. Okay, okay. It's not lacking. It's just more of people always look at what they can figure that you disagree with somebody about, and they use that. And at the end of the day, like I said, I think it's good not only as Americans but as people to have healthy discussions about why we disagree about something, because maybe we can come to some kind of agreement. But I tell you this, you should never, ever, 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 ever agree with somebody being mistreated because you don't like them. Because you don't understand, there's a possibility the person or the people that's mistreating them can actually turn around and start mistreating you. Yeah, look, I've done videos about the women and the elderly. I don't care if you got to take a breath of life in this country, get legally armed. If you old and the only thing you can manage to hold real good is a 22, damn it, load your house up with 22s. Have them all over the house. And if somebody come through that window or that front door uninvited, you do what you got to do. Period, point blank. You got a right to exist in this world like everybody else. And the criminals ain't going to stop until they keep meeting maximum resistance. Then eventually they'll give it up. You know what I'm saying? So, with that being said, everybody, this was supposed to be a 10-minute program, 30-minute live stream. I've babbled on and on. I've talked about street food and everything else. But I just want to say this one more time before I get out of here. We need a blind Second Amendment, and we cannot support the infringement on anybody's Second Amendment rights because we don't dislike them, because we disagree with them about something. If they are able to be legally armed, we should support their right to practice the Second Amendment because they can easily turn around on us. Period, point blank. With that being said, this has been another edition of MidDay Mania. I appreciate you guys and girls that came through. If you catch us on the replay, make sure you give us a like. Make sure you comment and all that stuff. You're a felon? Well, there is different programs for felons. I'll do some research because I know there's channels here where guys and girls have been felons and got their rights back. What I'll do is I'll do a little bit more research and I'll probably do a program. Maybe we'll do a live stream about it and we'll talk about felons and getting your rights back, because I believe in, look, once you pay your debt to society, that's that. You know, I'll do a little bit more research about it and we'll go ahead on and we'll probably do a live stream. I don't know if it'll be maybe later on in the week or something because I got some other stuff going on, but I'll make a mental note of that, or I'll get a chance, I'll jot that down. So we get a chance, maybe I'll do some things like that. Because like I said, once people, I know some places, once you finish your time, once you get off paper, if you're on probation or parole, I know they give you some places 5 years after you can get your record expunged. I know there's people behind the scenes that's working on trying to get programs for felons to get their firearm rights back. So, okay, 10 years off paper, okay. But I'll tell you what, I'll try and do a little bit more research on that so I can have some kind of idea of where I'm talking about. I'll try and look at different states and the federal statute, and we'll have a discussion about it. And if I'm right or if I'm wrong, you guys and girls could correct me or let me know what it is in your states. With that being said, I appreciate everybody taking your lunchtime out to join me. You could have been doing something else, but yet you guys and girls tuned in to hear me and my big mouth run on and on. But with that being said, everybody, until next time, stay safe, stay armed, stay on high alert. We out.